All right, hello and welcome to a High Hopes edition of In Cap We Trust at the Always Next Year podcast. I'm your host, Shane Meade, and I'm joined with a very special guest, the creator of Harper Lent, and the sole reason that Bryce Harper is a Philadelphia Philly, or at least he'll tell you so. Mr. Jack, High Hopes Pod. Jack, how are you, sir?
Good, man. I mean, some would definitely say that. Mostly me. I would be the one that would say that I'm the only reason Harper is here.
You and some
But
guy.
yeah, me and some guy I do the podcast with.
That's right.
You would say he's here. And man, like, what a weekend that was. It was electric down at the ballpark. Well, I wasn't there, but I could hear it all on the on radio. So
Phillies baseball's back, man. This is 2008 all over again, and I'm so goddamn happy that we're here.
well, isn't it so funny how baseball's dead and no one cares about it? That was like the conversation for the last 7 years, and then all of a sudden, one good Phillies team, and everyone's all the way back in on baseball. Like,
Because we never really left.
I
We
know,
didn't really leave.
yeah, it's just funny how it went from 0 to 100 like that.
That's what happens when you acquire Bryce Harper, JT Realmuto, and all these just stars of baseball. The excitement's here again, and I'm super happy about it. So I wanted to go through a bunch of different things with you, just some takeaways from the weekend. It's basically a picture perfect start to the 2019 season. Even the things that didn't go perfect ended up perfect. Our starting rotation didn't fulfill what I thought they were going to do in 3 days, but they held their own. So I wanted to go over a couple of those takeaways from you, but I did want to start with one. So you and James have recorded on right after opening day, and you guys had both kind of hit on a point that I was at the stadium during the opener. I know you guys produced the show, or you produced the show. James was there. But one thing you guys mentioned was that you guys were happiest for Reese.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I felt in the ballpark, witnessing what we witnessed on that home opener. I wanted to see what your full take on that was and kind of explain why you can be that happy for a guy who has kind of gone through the just the crap that the organization has kind of been for the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, so obviously we're all ecstatic that Bryce is here, McCutchen, Segura, Real Muto. Like they elevate the Phillies to a new level. But what made the 07 to 11 run so special was that those guys were all homegrown. Rollins, Utley, Howard, Hamels, like homegrown guys that we grew up with and watched them grow up in front of us. And for this generation of Phillies fans, Reese was kind of guy. And the reason why I was most happy for Reese was that he talked about all offseason, and even going back to last season, he would get chills thinking about that ballpark being full, that ballpark being electric. And he's heard so much about the '08 team and the run they went on that it kind of frustrated him a little bit. He's like, I want to have that for myself. And for him to have that moment on opening day, the grand slam, the curtain call, like I was just so happy for Reese to get an opportunity like that because he came up in 2017. He went on that ridiculous run, and he became the face of the Phillies. And in a way, I think Reese is still the face of the Phillies. I know that Bryce is here, but Reese is the guy that I still think is an emotional leader in that clubhouse. I think he's a tone setter. I mean, you saw on opening day when he was going through the line, like he was the one saying, "Let's go!" Like, and for a guy as young as he is, and he's just so ridiculously poised and polished and just awesome. And really, he's our homegrown star on this team. Obviously, Nola's incredible. Nola's a Cy Young winner and
Absolutely.
all that. But yeah, I mean, obviously, we all know that. But Reese plays every day. Like Reese plays every day, first base, and he's our masher in the middle of the lineup that people can relate to. And I just felt good that he got a moment like that, a moment for the fans to really let their appreciation go for Reese Hoskins. And it was perfect. So Reese had his moment on opening day, and then Harper had his moments the last couple of nights. It was the Phillies could not have scripted a better opening weekend.
Absolutely. And one of the things, and I fully agree, I do very much so believe that Reese still is kind of the pulse of this team. And you can see that. You can see that he still commands that, even with a guy like Bryce Harper. The really interesting thing that I found with the two of them, the Phillies in their clubhouse have both the face of baseball and a different face that's leading their team still.
Yeah.
On every billboard that you see, yes, you have Bryce Harper there. You have Aaron Nola there, which you should. And then you still have Reese because he commands that. I'm curious to see how much longer he can kind of go through that anonymity of being the best player on a bad team and how that growth process and maturation process is going to affect him. And I think having a guy like Bryce Harper in front of him and then like JT Realmuto behind him is going to make that just that much easier. And that's going to continue to keep him evolving as just one of the real true stars of the game and our homegrown star, just like the Utleys and Howards.
Yeah, and I mean, you saw he's on the Let the Kids Play campaign commercial. He's
Yeah,
the coolest thing about Reese is that he came up and right away was like, I want to do all this stuff, and he wants to like he wanted from day one to promote the Phillies and get people talking about the Phillies. That's the only reason he did the home run derby last year, and he put on a show, by the way, like an absolute
absolutely
show.
did.
Yeah, and like and for a guy that wanted to do that from day one, he wanted to be a guy that could put the Phillies on the map. I just thought it was a really, really cool moment. And did you see this morning on the Athletic? They wrote about it. They took down the '08 portrait in the
They
locker room.
did. I
And
saw that.
that's just that's a Reese thing because Reese he's appreciative of the '07 to '11 run. He understands how cherished that team is, but this is a new team, and he wants to set the tone that this is a brand new team, and we are here to win now.
Which made that grand slam on opening day and that first curtain call of this season that we'll see so many of them made that extra special, which is kind of where I came at when I heard you and James talk about it on your segment over with High Hopes. I was like, nope, that's 100% right. Like this was the moment. That was his moment, and I look forward to seeing that for look at the rest of well at least the rest of this year and then throughout the duration of his career, of course. Some other things to hit on here. Moving away from the Hoskins things. Now we're both guys who can appreciate the pitching and the defensive aspect of things. Three pitchers go in this series. Not one of them had their best stuff. Nola and Arrieta on opening day and then last night worked through a bunch of crap to get through 6 innings. Neither one of them had their best controller stuff. That shows you how good they are, that even on their not so great days, they can still give you six and still only give up 1 run. And then Pavetta, who I think we both can kind of agree, despite the fact that we're both very pro Pavetta guys and very pro that breakout, he kind of fell into some not so great habits of last year and kind of got away from some of the things that he did in the spring. And even him got through 4 1/3 or 4 2/3, whatever it was, and kept them in the ball game. The thing that's most interesting to me about not so much Nola, but when you're looking for a bounce back year from Arrieta, when you're looking for that next step of Pavetta and Eflin, Vince Velasquez is what Vince Velasquez is. I still think Eichhoff is going to be there by, I don't know, late May. But you have 1 through 8 this lineup here that provides so much protection to these pitchers that they don't have to be so perfect anymore. And I think one of the things that was fun to watch for me over the first 3 starts here was seeing those guys not nibble so much. They just threw the ball. It was perfect, even when they're not super hot. So I'm curious to sit here and see your take with the starting pitching. Not so much with Aaron Nola. I think we're pretty much. I think baseball in general is in agreement that this guy is kind of in a class of his own. But for the Pavettas, for the bounce back Arrieta, for Eflin, how much it's going to mean to have the 8 hitters that are in front of them and those fielders make their job just that much easier.
Well, it's not only the hitters that are able to help them. I mean, definitely if you're a pitcher and you know your offense rakes, like you can just go out there and kind of throw strikes, pound the zone, and just get the ball to your offense. And also, I mean, the defense is much better. But not only is it the batting order that is so electric, just having JT Realmuto back there instead of Jorge Alfaro. Right, like Jorge Alfaro, I think has all the skills to be an elite catcher in this league. But to me, he was always a Statcast catcher, where like the pop time was electric, the home run distance was excellent, the exit velocity was insane, but there was holes in his game, and he struck out too much. And sure, he was a great framer, like one of the best framers in the sport, but he didn't really know how to call a game. And sure, he could learn that eventually. Real Muto back there, I mean, there was the one pass ball last night that did hurt them, but I guess there was 2 last night. There was a pass ball that scored the first run, and then there was a drop ball that I guess hurt them a little bit. But still, I mean, Real Muto, like you saw the difference pretty early about how much Real Muto is going to help this team. The starting staff, like I was a little frustrated with Arrieta from the standpoint of I thought he did nibble a little bit early in the game, and then he kind of figured it out a little bit. And what's interesting is Gabe talked about it after the game was that Chris Young actually noticed what Arrieta was doing wrong and went to him in the middle of the game, and that's why you saw his 4 through 4, 5, 6 innings look much better. Started to find his zone. I thought I thought early in the game, I thought he was just cutting himself off too much, and he wasn't smooth, and he was rushing everything and forcing his back leg to catch up. It looked wrong. Like in spring training, he looked smooth. He was fully getting
fluent.
Yeah, and he was fully getting through his motion and everything. And that just wasn't how he was for the first couple innings of last night. So, but it was nice to see that on a night when his stuff wasn't the greatest, that he was able to get through 6 innings. I agree with you completely. It is also funny that Aaron Nola, on a bad day, is 8 Ks, 1 run, 7 innings, and 5 walks. He walked 3 guys in an inning. Like Aaron Nola never does that. So that was shocking to me. And then Pivetta, I was really frustrated with Pivetta because that was not the guy that we saw in spring training. He was trying to nibble. He was trying to be too perfect. I thought he did make some adjustments in that 4th inning or 5th inning, whenever it was, when first off he got squeezed on the one guy, and then Freeman just took a ball off the hands right to the vacated shortstop spot, and that scored a run. And that's not all Pivetta's fault. And then they pulled him out of the game. I thought he was starting to slowly figure it out there. But listen, it was the first start of the year for both those guys, well, all 3 of those guys. And it's crazy that they look so good, and that was about as bad as I thought the starting staff could look.
That was kind of my takeaway from it. That even without total control of their stuff, in command of all their pitches, they could kind of fight through and battle and keep themselves in those games. And I do think, just like you said, I think I was more excited for having JT Realmuto behind the plate than I was to having him in the box. For me, I mean, last night, I think I even tweeted about it. I think when he, in the first inning, went out and talked with Jake Arrieta, like in that moment, I was like, oh, yeah, we have a real catcher speaking to a pitcher right now, and someone that Jake Arrieta, I would assume, is going to sit there and trust and respect. I don't know that Jorge Alfaro was going to garner that same respect. And I don't know that he would have went out and actually had that conversation. Not that switch flipped immediately. It certainly did not. It wasn't until, like you said, the 3rd, 4th, 5th inning. But it was still something that I got excited about because we have a true guy behind the plate right now.
He did the same thing in game 1, too. I mean, Nola walked the 3 guys, and then...
in the 2nd inning, yeah.
Yeah, and Realmuto went straight out and then kind of straightened it out a little bit.
And that kind of an effect, and I think that we'll see it most with Pivetta and with Eflin. When you have 2 young guys who both are certainly poised in some respect to kind of break out and take that next step, they're entering that portion of their career. To have a guy like Realmuto back there who can really read and see what pitches are working, what isn't, who's going to be incredibly well studied for everyone that's going to come into the box in every situation. It's got to add such an extra level of security to each one of those young guys who are going to take the mound every 5th day.
Yeah, agreed. And just having a guy back there that's done it, that's gone through it. Unfortunately for Alfaro, like those guys all came up together, and when you kind of, there's a different level of respect for a guy like JT Realmuto. I mean, before the game last night, or was it Saturday? Before the game Saturday, he's getting a Silver Slugger award, and it's like that's our catcher now. Like that's crazy. So I agree with you. I think he's going to be a massive difference maker for this team, and maybe even more of a difference maker than Harper. Like that's what's crazy about this offseason is that you could argue that going from Kingery to Segura is the biggest move of the offseason. Going from Alfaro to Realmuto is the biggest upgrade of the offseason. Going from Hoskins to McCutchen in left field is the biggest difference. Or just having a $330 million superstar in right field. What an offseason. And I'm just shocked that they seem to like each other so much already.
Yeah, so that whole clubhouse camaraderie and everything so far, and look, they're winning and they're all playing in an electric atmosphere and in a city that's very built to win now. With all 14, well, the Flyers are kind of ass this year, but that is what it is. But this is such a winning culture that's been kind of bred here since the Super Bowl a few years ago. Like everyone's ready to go now, and the city's so damn excited. And the fact that the Phillies are here now. They have their $330 million superstar out there. They have their homegrown talent. They have those pieces that they acquired that look, Clentak made some of the difficult decisions and moves. He decided to move on from Sixto to acquire JT. A lot of people are really split on that. Some people are still really split on that.
Well, he's got to extend him. Like you can't trade away Sixto for 2 years of JT Realmuto. Like you give
it's extension season.
It is. Everyone's getting
$2 billion.
It's crazy. It's crazy. I hope they give him 3 more years. I would like a 5-year deal from him. Like jack
5 year
up
like 90.
yeah. Yeah, I think right around there works. I mean, he's too good, and you don't give away a possible ace for 2 years of catcher. Like you have to lock him up.
Yeah, I do think he's going to be the next lockup here for the Phillies. I don't see that going too long because you're right. You don't give up on Sixto like that. The rest of that deal is what that deal is. Which, by the way, I totally forgot to mention Jorge Alfaro when we discussed that trade on our show a couple months back. I was just completely out of sight, out of mind because I didn't give a damn, which still astounds me. But moving into, so I want to talk some of the hitters and some of the upgrades and what this lineup kind of looks like now. So I'm a big like ingredients guy. Like I want everything to match up and line up in a way that makes sense. Our 1 through 5, I don't know that you can physically script a better 1 through 5 in baseball. When you have Andrew McCutchen, who is going to get on base constantly, he still has some speed, he still has plus pop. One of my predictions on the year is that you remember Raul Ibanez in 2009, his first half?
Oh yeah, MVP.
100%. I think that Andrew McCutchen's going to do that, but through the duration of this season because he's younger and he's better than what Raul was. So that's one of my breakout predictions of this year. But when you put him in the leadoff spot, he's gonna get on first base. He still has the gap power to hit some doubles. You have a guy who I didn't realize this. They showed the stat last night, by the way, for Segura that 96% of the balls he swings at in the zone he makes contact with.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's insane. I've never seen a number like that. Like, I actually genuinely thought that was an error. I had to then go Google that during a commercial to make sure. I was like, that can't be right. That's fucking insane. But you have a hits guy there to drive in and to create constant first and thirds. He has power in his own right. So when Kutch has those doubles, Gene can drive him in with just a slap shot the other way. Then you have the obvious. You have that Bryce Harper in the 3. Providing protection with Rhys Hoskins in 4, and then Real Muto in the 5. Like, who the hell do you pitch to? There hasn't. I looked at it. I talked about it with Johnny. I think it was last week or the week before. Is there a better first 5 in all of baseball?
Well, I mean, the Red Sox have Mookie, Benintendi, JD.
I still think Benintendi's streaky as hell.
He is pretty streaky. I'm just going off the top of my head. I mean, Mookie and JD are ridiculous, and then you have the Astros with Altuve.
The Astros, from my point, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you have Springer, Altuve, Bregman.
Which Bregman's contract pisses me off so much.
Yeah, he's so good.
Steal.
I love Alex Bregman. He's the best.
Do I.
I mean, those 2 teams are loaded, and then you have the Yankees too, but they're all banged up, and it's Judge and Stanton. But in the NL, for sure, I mean, you have the Dodgers, but I think the Dodgers is more depth than real like superstardom like the Phillies have here. Obviously Bellinger's great, Turner, but
I don't know how the hell they hung 42 up in the first 4 games, by the way. That's insane.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So, but I mean, you're right. I don't know how you really plan, because they've an answer. The Phillies offense in 2019 is basically pick your poison. Like the 1 through 5 guys in opening weekend, they did an OBP of 425. Like,
I know.
Like that's ridiculous. And Harper, Hoskins, Real Muto, their OPS in opening weekend was over 1,400, which is ridiculous. And you're right. I mean, you have McCutchen, who might have the best eye in baseball. I mean, the guy doesn't swing at anything that's out of the zone. Like he is so locked in. He never chases. And his hands, like, they look back. Like, he looks really good. And this is the first time he's really playing in a hitter's ballpark outside of his little stint with the Yankees last year. I mean, he played with the Pirates. That's not a hitter's ballpark. And of course,
San Fran's a joke.
Horrible. So, this is his first time full season in a hitter's ballpark, and that home run he hit last night is probably a double in both of those places. So
agreed.
You have McCutchen there, and then Segura. I mean, he struck out 69 times last year. Like, that's all he struck out, and he's like a Polanco. Like, that's who he reminds me of, a Placido Polanco.
That's exactly what we said.
Doesn't strike out, bats 300, and plays a solid shortstop, and has a higher OBP than you would think. I mean, 340 last year is a legit OBP.
Oh, absolutely.
And then obviously you get to Harper, which the thing that I love about Harper, and I was thinking about this today on my drive in, is that um, like Howard, when he aged, he had that one fatal flaw, which we couldn't lay off a slider. And Harper's eye is so good that you'll never really have to worry about that. And as he gets older, he's only like he's only going to continue to walk. Like, sure, the power numbers may not be there, the home run numbers may dip, but no matter what, I think you're pretty much going to get a 360 OBP from the guy, even in like 10 years into this contract, because his eye is that good. And you saw it on that strike. There was a ball last night. That ball was outside, and
Oh yeah,
and
3 inches off the plate.
Harper knew it was outside. Like, if Bryce Harper thinks it's a ball, it's probably a ball. And then you got to go into Hoskins, who now actually has protection around him. Like, Rhys Hoskins last year had 96 RBI, and in that lineup, like, that wasn't even a good lineup. And now you put in a good lineup, it's like, man, I don't know what Rhys can do. And then Real Muto, I mean, Silver Slugger last year, played in Marlins Park. He's going to be ridiculous. And then obviously the bottom of the lineup is actually decent now. That used to be the top of our lineup. So it's awesome. Pitchers have absolutely no time to breathe against this lineup.
Yeah, there's literally no relief, and I'm not a huge Cesar guy, but I can appreciate he does, and especially in this kind of a lineup, where he's at in this lineup. I could have argued that he would have been a better 8-hole hitter, but what we're seeing out of Franco right now out of the 8-hole, I don't want that guy ever moving out. He's forced to be just a little bit more patient than what he ordinarily would. It's forcing him to kind of, stay a little bit more in control in the box. The one thing I continue to have an issue with Franco is the fact that he's never taken a ball the other way ever in his life.
With hard contact. It's soft.
So, well, last night he had a poke single that way that looked like he either got jammed or what. But yeah, he is so damn strong that if he could learn to utilize the second half of that plate and to use the other side, I mean, he could be really, really good offensively. But when he's your 8-hole hitter, I mean, I think he has the best offensive numbers on the team right now. I mean, it's opening series and all. Let's not go crazy, but still, there is zero relief from anything here, which is, look, it's awesome. I can't. So my buddy just texted me this. Like, I don't want to not remember to talk about this. It's deserving of like 38 seconds max, but I loathe Pat Neshek with everything in me. But so he just texted me. He goes, hey, make sure you talk about Pat Neshek. And I almost, like, I cringed and wanted to throw my phone. But here's the thing. I recognize that Pat Neshek is a really, really good pitcher. And I recognize that his Philly stats have been freaking incredible. I hate the guy. That being said, Pat Neshek just threw in all 3 games of an opening series, which I did not know.
He did it.
I couldn't believe it. I was like, this can't be. Is 2019, like, are we all going to die right now?
This not man Neshek.
I can't believe it. He took the baseball 3 times in the series, once on a back-to-back day. Couldn't believe it.
And he didn't leak to the media that he didn't like the manager. So it was a big weekend for Pat.
Huge weekend. Huge. Arguably, look, I'm more excited for that than I am for Bryce Harper.
If you want to talk about that, I'm more excited for Adam Morgan to shut down relief appearances this weekend.
You and your Adam Morgan thing, man.
He's good, man. Let him throw his sliders. If he's throwing sliders, he's a good pitcher.
He's fine. I don't have the high ceiling that you have on him. The only time I've ever seen him be a consistently decent pitcher was when Ellis was behind the plate for him for that half season, because he had a catcher that could sit there and talk to him. That was the best I saw him pitch. But look,
buddy?
I'll let you have it. I'll let you have your Adam Morgan love, your lefty out of the pen. Jesus. But let's get to a little bit of Bryce Harper now. So we'll put it off towards some of the back end of this now. So you produced the game. I was at the game. The stadium atmosphere was just insane. It was electric. Could you feel basically the pulsating energy that was coming out of this from producing this show?
Yeah, it was crazy. It was you could like last year. The crazy thing is that last year they did have some 40,000 plus games, like, of people
Yankees
there.
Game.
Yeah, Yankees, Red Sox, they were both 40,000, and the Dodgers series, right, there was at least 40,000 there, or 35,000 plus. but it was never loud. Like it, and this weekend was legitimately loud and electric, and you could feel it from the broadcasters. Like Fransky in LA, you could hear their smiles and their giddiness
Yeah, it was awesome.
coming. Yeah, it was great because listen, those guys have had to endure some horrible baseball, and I mean, just the fact that they're able now to have a legitimately good baseball team, you could hear the smiles through their calls, like the McCutchen home run. It was hilarious. He's like, "Oh, here we go!" Like it was crazy. It was crazy, and you could really tell through the broadcast how electric that place is. Just like looking from the levels, like you can tell. Sometimes there's like last year there was a lot of even on home run calls. It was like there's a smattering of cheers, but this year like the cheers were not overriding, but overpowering the broadcast in a way that were like Fransky had to talk over the crowd, which is crazy. And I was watching a little bit today. I was actually rewatching Adam Morgan's inning to make sure it happened.
You're such a nerd, man.
and I was like, wow, this crowd is like insane on TV sounding. Because I obviously I can't watch the games, and I mean I watch the game, but I can't listen to the game on the TV. And I was just shocked at how loud it sounded. Like '08 again. Like it sounded like the electricity was back in the ballpark, and it was awesome.
That's my takeaway from all of this. And when you look at a guy like Bryce Harper, who he's kind of brought his own level of energy and just fun back into the game. And that's one thing I love about Bryce Harper. He's always very much so been very adamant about like, let's keep this game fun. It doesn't have to not be fun. He comes out with the Fanatic cleats. The Fanatic comes out with Bryce Harper cleats. They all have their own handshakes. He's such an image guy. Even look, I've watched his first Phillies home run like 87 million times at this point. Rocking those electric blue batting gloves with the sleeve that match the helmet, or the alternate helmets, the cleats, the leg pad, everything. He's such an image guy that just everything just looks. I mean, you say it about a bunch of guys, look good, feel good. He's that guy, and he plays that energy role so damn well. And on opening day, dude, you could not hear Dan Baker announce him. After he was announced, you couldn't hear the next three players announced. It was unreal. It was very much so like 2008. And that's what you get from getting a guy like Bryce Harper. You have that energy and personality and talent. And it's something that we haven't seen here in Philadelphia in a long time.
Yeah.
Outside of Joel Embiid.
Right. And that's the difference between him and Machado. And that's always why Bryce Harper cost a little bit more than Manny Machado, was because he brings the it factor. He brings the star factor. He gets people to go to the ballpark. I mean, if Machado is here, sure, you sell out opening day and all that stuff, but the anticipation, the hype around this team is not nearly the same as it is now with Bryce Harper here. I mean, he is an absolute superstar. He's the face of the sport, and he is committed to making baseball fun again. And the whole running out to right field and bowing before the game.
Of the crowd. Awesome.
Now let me ask you something, because I'm obviously very pro Harper. I love Bryce Harper. I'm a little out on the fist pump. I don't want it to become ingenuine. I thought on opening day it was amazing. I don't want it to happen.
That was my take.
I don't want it to happen every day. I think the bow should be a daily occurrence. I'm not all in on the fist pump every game.
So I'm totally cool with him giving the play to the crowd in right field. I thought, first of all, on opening day, I was out in right field, so it was awesome.
Did you tear up a little bit?
Oh my God, yes.
100%. Was there at any moment that you teared up a little bit?
Absolutely. So here's the thing. So Stephanie and I've been taking her to opening day with me for the 5 years we've been together. She's never seen Citizens Bank Park during the 2008 run and all of that. She didn't start going to baseball games until like 2011, 12. She never heard the bank like that. So she looks at me at one point. She's like, "Are you going to cry?" And she freaking has it on video. And I'm like, "Dude, don't look at me right now. Of course I'm going to cry. You're damn right I'm going to cry."
Oh, my God.
Yeah, so the energy's insane. But to answer that question, yeah, the opening day fist pump, it felt really genuine. It felt awesome. And like it pumped up the whole section. And like that was probably that moment where I was like, "Oh shit, he's a Philly." And I'm like, all right, this is fantastic. But doing it every time out there, I'm like, there's a little bit of disingenuousness about that. And I'm like, I could take it or leave it. You want to acknowledge the right field crowd, go ahead, do your thing. But fist pumping every single day, I don't really know that it's super necessary.
Now, if you do it before game one of the NLDS or the wild card game, all in.
Different story.
Different story. I just don't need every game, especially like if they lose 4 straight,
Yeah, don't walk out there like that.
Yeah. So, there was actually, I would say there's 3 moments I was welling up this opening weekend. was the Harper jog out to right and the fist bump, almost welled up. The Hoskins curtain call, almost welled up, and then the Harper curtain call, almost welled up. It was an emotional weekend for a team that's back.
Absolutely. See, and that's where I'm at. So I'm very much so in that way. And Stephanie, she makes fun of me for that shit all the time.
Oh, come on.
But you can't help it. They're back. Phillies baseball's back.
Let me just talk to Stephanie and say, how can you not be romantic about baseball?
Thank you, Brad Pitt. Well done.
No problem. I am Brad Pitt.
So, as you are.
Some would say that.
Some. Not all. Certainly. Not all. But one last point here. So we titled this segment "In Cap We Trust," right? So I will be the first to admit when we hired Cap, I was like, why? Just why? And then his initial, I'd say 10 days during the regular season last year, I was furious. And then you stop being reactionary and you start thinking through the processes and you think through his decisions and you're like, this makes sense. This makes sense. The execution wasn't great, but it makes sense. This year, a big thing, I could not believe, every time someone brings it up, it's just one of the most punchable things that anyone can ask me. Is Gabe Kapler on your hot seat? And I'm like, you don't have to finish the sentence. You can just stop talking now. We're very pro Gabe Kapler here on this show. We know you guys are as well. One thing that I love from this opening series is the fact that all these people who sat there and said, well, he's going to tinker with the lineup. He's going to sit there and he's going to look 3 weeks out and he's going to make a lineup that he will not deviate from despite what happens during those 3 weeks. We saw the same lineup come out. We saw him make the correct, in my opinion anyway, the correct moves to the pen. He hung with Nola, even though he didn't have the best control. He hung with, well, he did pull Pivetta a little quick, but he hung with Arrieta to get through 6. There's growth there that excites me. And I'm hoping that we can distance ourselves from the people that sit there and constantly have any Philadelphia manager in any sport on a hot seat when they absolutely don't deserve it. Just real quick, why should people get the hell off Gabe Kapler's ass?
Well, because he's a smart guy that gives a crap. And I think the most frustrating thing about the Sandberg era and the McCann era was I felt like those guys didn't really care. And if there's one thing that you physically cannot rip Gabe Kapler for is that he cares a lot. Like he cares a lot about winning and cares a lot about, like he gave a quote to the Athletic and he was like, the most frustrating thing about year one was that I ran out of time during the day because he was just working so much to try to find any kind of edge to win a ball game. And you want that in a manager, like don't you? Like I
would love to play for him.
Yeah, the Gabe stuff was a little frustrating last year, and I thought he was excellent this weekend. Like
So did I.
He kept the lineup the same, and really I think what he learned the most from year one to year two is that these guys are humans, that you cannot just put it on a spreadsheet and you cannot just take out Aaron Nola after 68 pitches. Like you have to treat these guys like they're human beings rather than just numbers on a spreadsheet. And I think he realized that. That was his main change. And Nishek said yesterday that Gabe has changed and he's listening to the guys more and he's being a leader of men rather than guys just being afraid of, having to be taken out of the game because the spreadsheet says to do it there. And I love analytics. I think analytics are great. I think they've brought a lot
absolutely a place.
Right. 100%. But there has to be a balance between the analytics and managing a group of players. And through the first weekend, I thought Gabe did a great job of that. And I think it also does help that you have
talent.
Talent, obviously, but you also have leaders in that clubhouse like Andrew McCutchen. You have a JT Realmuto, who is a behind-the-scenes leader. You have Harper, who I'm shocked is as good of a leader as he has been.
Like I'm not super shocked about that, honestly.
Well, I'm shocked that he's as all in as he's been. Like from day one.
Still honeymoon phasing, but I'm not super shocked.
Well, good. I am definitely a little surprised that he's been this great of a team guy. Like has handshakes with everyone on the team. Like it's just he Gabe is letting the game come to him rather than trying to do too much, and I think that's a good development. And let these guys feel comfortable. I mean, that's been the big difference from last year to this year is that these guys feel comfortable, and Gabe is putting the work to make sure they feel that way.
Couldn't agree more. So we head to Washington tomorrow night. You're actually going to be at the game.
I am. I can't wait.
So awesome. Sorry if it's Eflin throwing tomorrow night, but that is what it is.
I'm excited for Eflin.
A bench player, he's going to have to start finding at bats for them eventually. Who's the first bench player you think is going to actually get a start and get a little bit of time here, whether it be for some of the struggles or just to get them time?
I still think it's Kingery. I don't think they gave him that contract last year not to play him, and I think they still I think they still believe in him. And he's gonna be fine. Like he's gonna be fine. He needs to eventually just be given, I guess, the second base job. I think Cesar obviously plays his role. But I do think eventually Kingery is going to find his way into the lineup, whether it be at second base or at third base if this Franco hot streak kind of cools off a little bit. I just don't see anyone else in that outfield really giving way to Aaron Altherr. I know everyone is freaking out about frickin' Odubel last night. And it's ridiculous.
It was one at bat. It was terrible, but it was one at bat.
And here's the thing is that, like, first off, he has the big hit on Thursday. No one talks about that. He had 2 walks on Saturday that no one talks about. They only focus on that one at bat when it was a changeup that fell off the table.
That was the best pitch he threw all night.
Right, and if you're a hitter in that spot and you're talking to your hitting coach, I mean, the Phillies preach to be selectively aggressive, and when you're going up in that position, John Maley told him one pitch, one spot, and when you think about it, that's a changeup that looks like a fastball right in his wheelhouse. That just fell off the table. Like, just relax. Just leave Odubel alone. He's a good player.
He is so underappreciated, and he is baseball stupid. Like he's insane. You always say he's very much like Shane Victorino. I 100% agree. Shane Victorino, when those first few years with us, one could argue he was baseball stupid. He just was too aggressive and eager and out of control. He calmed himself down. Odubel can do the same thing. He doesn't have to be the guy anymore. Odubel's going to be fine. People need to get the hell off his ass. Also, I don't want to see Aaron Altherr out there ever. No offense.
Come on.
No offense.
On. Let him
you
live.
You and your Altherr love. Nah, he can get traded somewhere. That's fine.
He's gonna be Jason Worth 2.0. You'll see.
Oh,
one of these years.
If that was going to happen, that would have been 2 years ago.
One of
but
these
he can't
years.
Stay healthy. That's pretty much going to wrap stuff up. I do appreciate you coming on, man. For most of our listeners, we do reference your show and At the Yard and a couple other baseball pods. But real quick, why don't you give your Twitter handle, your show's Twitter handle, and why don't you give that some guy's Twitter handle out if you have it as well, James?
All right, so you can follow me at Jack Fritz WIP. You can follow at High Hopes Pod at High Hopes Pod. And you can follow the other guy, James Seltzer, at James Seltzer on Twitter. And subscribe iTunes, Spotify, wherever you can get your podcasts.
And then you can subscribe to our show. It's at AMY Podcast. You can subscribe to me, the host of this show, at Shane_Meade. Be sure to, wherever you do listen to the shows, whether it's iTunes, Spreaker, Stitcher, Spotify, SoundCloud, wherever it is, give both the High Hope Show and our show a review. Validate our existence and life choices. We do appreciate it. We do read them, as few as they come in for us, as much as they come in for them. But be sure to rate and review those as well. Jack, dude, it's been awesome having you on. Thanks so much for coming.
Of course, man. Anytime.